Hey guys, I'm Charlie from Reader Turned Writer, and today I wanted to do a wrap-up of the books I read last month, October of 2017. I read 11 books this month. I'm actually surprised that I was able to read that many books. I was worried because at the beginning of the month I had a whole bunch of different projects that I was working on and had hardly any time to read at all, and halfway through the month I hadn't even finished 5 books yet. Reading the Children of the Promise series really saved my month because I went through them so fast because they were so good. The first book I read was Inkheart by Cornelia Funke. This is a really popular book, but I actually didn't love it that much. There were some things I liked about it. I really liked how she talked about words and books and stories in general. Because I'm a reader and I love reading and books, I really connected with that part of it. She also starts each chapter with a quote from a book, and I really like that. I didn't like the pacing in this book. There were a lot of times when I was really bored and had to push through the book to finish it. I really liked the characters and that kept me reading. I especially liked the ant. The ant in the book was my favorite character. I hope that she clears up some of the things at the end of the book that we didn't understand, because some of the things that happen I was like, well, that doesn't really make sense with the rules of the world and the magic that was going on, at least as far as we understand it, so I hope in the other books that she clears it up if I end up reading them. The second book I read was an LDS nonfiction book called Your Endowment. It talked about some of the symbols and concepts around the LDS temple to make going through the temple more meaningful, and I thought it was brilliant. If you are LDS, I would definitely recommend this book because I learned so much and it definitely changed how I will feel and think going into the temple in the future. The third book I read was The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funke, the same author as Inkheart. I actually did a video doing a book review of this book and I'll link that down below so you can see my thoughts more in depth. But overall, I really liked it. I thought it was a very strong book. I actually gave it 5 stars. The fourth book I read was The Final Summit by Andy Andrews. This book is actually a sequel to The Traveler's Gift, and you don't have to read it in that order, and I didn't. I'd never actually read anything by Andy Andrews before, but I think it would have helped. I didn't honestly love this book. I would probably give it 3 or 4 stars. I really didn't like the parts between when you were learning of history, when the characters were just chatting with each other. It felt really pointless. Like, nobody cares about pointless chatter. The way that the angel and God and heaven are portrayed, where God's like saying, oh, you only have 5 chances to find 2 words for humanity or we're gonna kill off the human race, that really bothered me because I really don't believe that's how God is, and I don't know, it just irked me. There were 2 things in this book that redeemed it in my eyes. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have finished it, and I also might not have kept it, but I'm probably going to keep it now and I might read the other books. The first was when I learned about Erik Erikson. He was a guy in World War II. He sacrificed a lot during the war and he actually ended up basically winning the war for America. He was the one that was able to find out a lot of information about the oil rigs in Germany so that we could bomb them, and then they wouldn't have gasoline for the big tanks and other machines that they had. Even though they had more advanced equipment than us, they didn't have the oil and gas to keep them running because we were able to bomb those locations because of Erik Erikson. And they also found out after the war that one of the places that they bombed because of him was a plant where the Germans were trying to build a nuclear bomb, and if they had finished it, which they were actually really close at the time of the bombing, then they would have bombed America and Britain and we would have lost the war, and we came really close to losing the war, but because of Erik Erikson we didn't actually lose the war. This isn't something that I had ever learned before, and it was really interesting to me. I actually want to read more about him, but I guess there's not a lot out there. So I didn't love this book, but I really love some of the concepts and ideas, and the history was really interesting to me. The 5th book I read was No Doubt About It by Sheri. It's an LDS nonfiction book. I definitely would recommend it if you are LDS or looking for a faith-filled book. Next is a book that I've actually been working on for a few months. It's called Expressions of Faith, Testimonies of LDS Scholars, and it's put together by Susan Easton Black. It was basically exactly what it sounds like. It was really interesting to see how these scholars gained their testimonies, and it was really good for me to hear their testimonies. I really liked it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I wish I had the dust jacket for it because I don't like how this looks really. It looks really old, but I did really enjoy the book. 7 through 11 were the Children of the Promise series by Dean Hughes. The series is Rumors of Wars, Since You Went Away, Far From Home, When We Meet Again, and As Long As I Have You. The series is an LDS historical fiction set in World War II, and it was absolutely phenomenal. I cannot say enough good about this series. I literally read it in like a week because I loved it so much. I loved the characters. It follows a family by the last name of Thomas. They're an LDS family in Salt Lake City. The book starts with their oldest son Alex in Germany around the beginning of World War II as an LDS missionary. After he leaves, it actually follows a family that he taught and converted in Germany, and those are the two main families that we follow throughout the rest of the series. I have so much to say about this book and I cannot say it all here, so I'm actually going to do a separate video where I do a review of this series so that I can share a lot more of my thoughts about the series, because I have so many thoughts. It made me think about so many things and feel so many things and really look at my life and our world and different social problems in different ways. Oh my goodness, it was so good. You do not need to be LDS to read this book. If you're interested in LDS history or in World War II history, this is such a good read. Even if you're not LDS, it is so good. I cannot stress that enough. Yeah, I would just recommend that you read this book. So that's what I read last month. If you read any of those books and have any thoughts on them, let me know in the comments below and we can chat. Or if any of them look interesting, you can pick them up and try them out. Thanks for watching.